Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
The happiness steps. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again, Salt Strong Unchurched. The other night, my wife was in Montana with our daughter Shauna doing some cool mother-daughter bonding time. Shauna, as many of you know who've listened to this show, she loves the outdoors. She even has a little YouTube channel, Shauna the Nature Girl, and really just fell in love with Montana and in a little, report that she had to do at school and just all the different animals out there. And so she'd been begging to go forever, and just everything lined up, and school was out for summer, and my wife got to take her there. So they had a good time. And that meant I was at home with Savannah and Jackson and got them to bed and ended up making a bowl of popcorn and was just kind of browsing through YouTube TV. And if you know a lot about me, I don't watch much TV. And so I hadn't looked at anything in quite some time. And this is late at night. And so there wasn't really anything live that I wanted to see on. And so I'm just kind of going through, and all of a sudden, this Zig Ziglar, if you guys remember old Zig Ziglar, who's now deceased, but his legacy lives on with all his amazing work that he put out there. And it was a Zig Ziglar movie, See at the Top. I didn't even know there was like a movie about it. And I love the old Zig Ziglar books. A lot of you know I love to read. And so I just clicked on it and started watching it, and it really sucked me right in. And I had read this book, and it had been forever. And so for some of you, this might be a great reminder. And he had this whole I guess it was kind of a saying, see at the top, right? It was see at the top. And it was all about taking the stairs or the steps or a ladder up. It kind of morphed over the years. But the whole point was most of us, and this was true back then, Zig was doing this back in the 70s, that everyone wanted a quick fix, right? I mean, it's even worse right now. Everyone wants everything fast, and there's fast food and fast internet, and everything's got to be fast, fast, fast. But even back then, everyone wanted the quick fix, the pill, if you will. They wanted to take the elevator up to the top. And Zig's whole point is, guys, there's 6 steps that you have to take to get to the top. Just 6. And these 6 steps, and that's when you unlock happiness, health, wealth, friends, growth, peace, security, leisure, freedom, opportunity, all these things that I would be willing to bet most of us want, right? Who wouldn't want happiness and health and wealth and prosperity and freedom and opportunity? And it's in order. So you can't skip over a step, meaning you can't do 2 steps at once or jump over a step. And he's like, this is the problem with most people, and why most people are stressed and don't have freedom and don't have the security or the peace they want, don't feel like they're growing, don't have a ton of friends, which we talked about on a recent podcast, and just ultimately don't feel happy and fulfilled. So let's all agree that the elevator, even though it's nice, it feels nice, that's not the way to do it. That is the quick fix. And Zig has a little image that's out there on the internet where you can see the elevator is out of order, and it says you'll have to take the stairs. And the very bottom stair, and this is so important, this is what I loved about this little movie, the See at the Top movie, it's self-image. And they had a couple people talking about that they were essentially trying to jump upstairs. They wanted to go get the happiness first and then work on their self-image, right? Think about that. And I did that, right? It's like, man, if once I get this, or once I make this kind of money, or once I find this girl, then I'll work on loving myself. Because that's really what self-image is, right? It's being able to look in the mirror and love thyself. And the Bible even talks about that, right? And that means don't be looking at others and be jealous and resentful or whatever it might be this day and age with social media and stuff, and just looking at others and trying to be like the Joneses. You must love yourself first before you can ever even take the next step to growth, to wealth, to health, to happiness, etc. So the very first step is self-image, your self-image, loving yourself. And I also did a whole podcast on that. I had the guy, Kamal Ravikant, that wrote the book on loving thyself, and how he almost was to the point of just committing suicide because he was so unhappy. He wanted all of these things at the top, the health, the wealth, the freedom, and all this stuff so bad. And yet he skipped over that first step. I mean, literally, he wrote the whole book about how his life was saved by it was called Love Thyself Like You Want to Kill Yourself, because ironically, he was about to commit suicide, and he finally just had that God moment. And he said, you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm just going to try loving myself, like just flat out, biggest crush of your life, loving yourself. And he says it was tough at first. Like I really had to change my mindset because he was beating himself so hard because he didn't have all this stuff. He had a brother who was really, really successful. You can look up his brother, Ravikant. I'm blanking on his first name, but he's someone on Wall Street that like everyone knows. He's close to a billionaire now, if not one. And Kamal was beating himself up. He's like, man, I'm a shadow of my brother and of my dad, my parents, and I don't have a wife, and all these things are wrong. And he says it wasn't until I flipped that script and just started loving myself that all these other doors started opening up, that all these other steps starting opening up. And ironically, after self-image, after loving yourself, which is spend the most time there, because that you can't get to step 2 unless you do step 1. But the next one is then your relationship with others. So it's self-image, loving yourself first, then your relationship with others, which is critical. We talked about that in a couple episodes ago. If you haven't heard that one, listen to it as a must listen to. And then goals, right? Starting to set the goals of where you want to go, what you want your life to look like. I wrote a lot about that in my book, Fishing for Happiness, about the goal setting and essentially beginning with the end in mind. The next one is attitude, right? And it's another one. You can't really have a great attitude unless you have that loving yourself, self-image, and you have some relationship and you have some goals in life. And then it's the work that you're doing, right? To find something that you truly can love that tie in with all of those other things that amplify all of the other steps, if you will. And then the last one is that desire. Now, most people just want to skip to the top and just have all this desire and this passion for life. But until you start with the bottom and work your way up, it is really, 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 really tough, if not impossible, which I do believe is a reason that there are so many unhappy people and so many people depressed, and the amount of antidepressants is at an all-time high, like to a whole nother level. And it's not just because we have more people in the world. It's because there are just so many more people that are feeling anxiety, that are feeling depression, that are feeling thoughts of suicide and or committing suicide. I mean, all these things are an all-time high. And my gut tells me a big piece of it is this, that we all just want that quick fix. We've all been so accustomed to get everything fast. And most of us, when given the option of the elevator or taking some stairs, are going to pick the elevator because it's easier, right? And I heard a good example from a professional skier, snow skier, not water skier, and just talking about why most people don't get great and how he got great. And he's like, when you're young and you're first starting, everyone has to start off in the greens and then the blues. Going down a black diamond, that's really scary. I mean, it can be terrifying in some places if you've never done one before. But he's like, you know what? In the easy route is to guess what? Is to go, and I'm going to turn around and go find me a blue or even a green. It's easier. I feel better. I can show off a little bit more. I'm a little bit more confident, because you're not confident when you're going down a black diamond your first time. Ask me how I know, because I remember going through that when our family did a couple of snow skiing trips and got good enough to really kind of master the blues. And I remember that first time going down a black diamond with this guy. His name was Alan, who was kind of our host, and he's a really good skier. And for him, it was so easy. And my heart's beating 1,000 miles an hour. Like I thought I was going to have a heart attack just looking down below my skis in it, even though I'm sure it wasn't a complete straight drop down. That's what it felt like, especially compared to a green or a blue. And I just remember just taking that breath and just going down, and I had zero confidence. But afterwards, my confidence was boosted, and I made it. I survived. I didn't wipe out. I went incredibly slow over all those moguls, but I did it. And I was like, I kind of want to do that again. And to that guy's point, who was the professional skier, he's like, that's how you become great at something. And that's ultimately how he found the freedom and the happiness and the growth that comes with, being the best at something, or even just being great at something. So many of us, we want the quick fix, or we want the easy way, right? Even when we put out content at Salt Strong, the guess what always works? The quick and easy way to blank, catch snook, catch redfish, whatever it is, because we all want that. So one, I would urge you, when you have that opportunity, I'm not saying you should do everything hard just for the sake of doing it hard and taking steps every time you can. But really, really think through that. And if you want a printout of it, just go Zig Ziglar and do the 6 steps, I think is what it's called, with the stairs versus steps. Zig Ziglar, you'll see the little image. It's a guy who's, it looks like in the lobby of a hotel or a place that has an elevator, and the elevator's got a big out of order sign that says you'll have to take the stairs, and he's staring up at the stairs, and up at the top is all those things. It's the health, wealth, and happiness, and friends, and growth, and peace, and security, and prosperity, opportunity, freedom. And then you got just those 6 stairs. And when you look at it like that, you're like, man, it's really not that tough. But it all begins with loving thyself. So, so, so important. And a lot of the people that I've kind of helped, I'm not a counselor by any means, but that have reached out to me, and I've gotten involved sometimes even on the phone when just someone is going through a really, really tough time. I would say in almost every single one of those scenarios, actually in every single scenario, there's an issue there, and they've skipped over step number 1, meaning they don't love thyself. They're beating themselves up about stuff that may or may not even have happened, or maybe did something that happened in the past, but they don't truly look in the mirror and love themselves the way they would love someone they had a crush on, or a spouse, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. So I would personally start there. I think that makes all the other stairs so much easier when you can sit there and love thyself. And there's a reason Zig Ziglar, who, I mean, man, that guy studied this stuff and put out content for 4 decades. And this was his thing. After all the stuff he did, and all the books he read, and all the speeches he gave, and the millions of dollars that he brought in, and the millions of people he helped, that one thing, that first step, is the most critical, and it's that self-image. So hope you guys remember that one. If you got kids, grandkids, friends that are just struggling, maybe print that thing off for them, or get them that book. I think it's see at the top, Zig Ziglar. So good. I had no intention. I had every intention that night of cooking popcorn and just watching kind of something, a comedy or something like that. And for whatever reason, God put that Zig Ziglar thing in front of me on a Saturday night, and I sat there and I couldn't stop watching. It was really, really, really good. So love you guys. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any thoughts or questions, hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. Joe@saltstrong.com. Until then, I will speak with you on the next Unchurched.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.